Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dark Metal video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the performance of the Strength Super Saiyan 3 Goku in the red zone. So we're going to be taking a look at his performance across the multiple red zones, and I think we'll get a pretty good idea for just how good he is in terms of like his general performance. I think there's a couple things that are definitely great about him, but I think there are definitely some things that he does showcase as being a struggle. So the first thing, or the first and foremost, that he really struggles with, at least in terms of like the red zones, is generally speaking when he gets hit. So I know it sounds really weird, but he doesn't have good, well, I don't want to say good, but he doesn't have insane start of turn defense. So he doesn't have the world's highest defense when it comes to start of turn. And so what this does is it really limits him quite a bit. He becomes quite limited in terms of performance. He loses out a little bit in terms of his ability to handle various situations, and there's certain fights that aren't good for him. One of those is Zamasu. So when he does get hit by the AoEs, he takes a lot of damage. We're talking like 300k. And then of course as well the Broly fight, which disables evasion. Now of course it's not all bad. For example, when he does dodge Zamasu, he can be a great damage dealer, and his active skill comes in handy a lot. Like you're seeing it here, I used it in both phases, obviously in different runs, but his active skill is a very, very helpful ability. It's something that's going to be able to essentially help you to really control the amount of damage that you take, and really limit the impact of a lot of these fights. And how hard the bosses actually hit you. So it is something that's quite good. It is definitely something that's very, very helpful. I think overall it's a great use of his abilities. I think outside of that, he is a very good damage dealer. I think that's something that's very, very good about him. A great damage dealer that's incredibly consistent. He's got a high crit, which makes him good in a lot of these fights, and I think he does a great job from there. The Cell Max fight is one where he's excellent, because his defense after Super is very much high enough to handle pretty much anything that Cell Max throws them, which is obviously great. But then also he does crits, which generally speaking puts him in a good position against Cell Max. Metal Cooler is also a fight where he's really good, because he does two things. Firstly, he can evade, which is fantastic, and also he then has type advantage against the Metal Cooler stage. So in that regard, he's very, very strong. Great damage dealer as well. Of course, in this situation, you also have the benefit of his nullification, which is useful in quite a few ways. So that also aids him as well. So he's really quite good. Here you can see his nullification kicking in. So yeah, in this situation, he really excels. Got a lot of tools that allow him to really kind of control the fight and just do a ton of great work, which I think overall is excellent. So in these ways, he's really good. Metal Cooler fight, super solid. Of course, I guess Cell Max isn't one that people care too much about, but I think his crit capabilities do really help him in producing some really high damage, which is excellent. And yeah, I would say overall he's incredibly solid, with a very, very, very good level of performance overall, mixed in with a really strong kind of utility of that finish skill, active skill, standby skill that he has. So then, of course, what's left is obviously Broly. Now Broly is a difficult one for him in general. So Broly disables evasion, which, as I explained earlier, is pretty much a super high portion of Goku's mitigation. So without his mitigation from the evasion that he has, he can take quite a bit of damage. We're not talking ridiculously high, but there's nothing to protect him from super attacks. Where he's fortunate is that Broly, barring his AoE super, only really attacks head on, and Goku can have very decent defense after super. However, Broly is a very big counter to Goku's standby skill. So if you activate Goku's standby skill, you make sure that you're using it pretty much where Broly's only attacking with a super attack. If you take on Broly and you have him firing multiple attacks, even if one of them is the super attack, Goku will take so much damage from the normal attacks that you just basically won't be able to operate. So it's a lot, and it is quite a big problem for Goku, and Broly just in general is not a great unit for Goku to face. At least the last phase. Everything up to the last phase, he's generally pretty good. An AoE from the strength one will unfortunately give him an issue, but outside from that he is still really good, and he does have some things about him that are really, really solid. It's just unfortunate that he struggles specifically against that AGL phase, but it does make sense. Basically disables his best mechanics whilst simultaneously being an event that has type advantage against him. So it is understandably not great for him, but also it's one of those things. It's not like he can't do anything. It's just basically that he's incredibly limited in terms of his options. But aside from that, I think he does a great job in most of the red zones. I think in all of them except for Broly, he's more than fine as a top tier pick. I think Zamasu also does give him some problems, but because his evasion can work, I don't think it's a huge hindrance to him. I think it's not great, but I don't think it's a massive hindrance. I think he can still make it work, even if he isn't dominating as he would. Here you can see Goku countering, which is fantastic, and it can definitely come in handy, and so I think overall he's still good. You just have to be super careful with how you use him in the Broly fight, but overall he's really good. I like what he brings. Yeah,